Yeah, and within that, there was, like, along the way, it was kind of like really interesting conversations that come up with, like, so we're trying to, when you watch the movie and it's like, and there's this kind of like, you don't know who's who, and, there's this fluidity and so on, but within that, to kind of create that setup, there was sort of, complicated, like, kind of casting and, like, decisions to make and so on, and all of it was, like, it was sort of, it was a lot of, like, conversations would come up about, how we were handling it, and would be, like, kind of, like, creating situations where people, like, would pass or something, and, like, it was kind of like, trying to, I don't know, do it, dressing people up in a certain way.
All right, I welcome questions from the floor. I really don't want to be in this position of power, but does somebody want to be the chooser, or do I?
So, it's like such a beautiful film. I just want to thank you. Your editing is like stunning.
Oh, the editor's here.
Okay. Some really amazing shots, and I thought the score was just really nice. My main question is, I've seen a number of Eisenstein films, and so there's a German socialist, Kula Vampa, and
Can you speak up a little?
I can try. Basically, what I'm wondering is what guided your decision to have a kind of individual protagonist, because most of the kind of the socialist films that I've seen are really anti-individual protagonists, and there's like a collective protagonist. And so I was just wanting to see if you could comment on
that. Film school. Seriously. Yeah, I started taking classes at City College and just, like, got really into this, like, how to make a narrative film. And, like, where that wasn't what it was starting out, but it's like, I don't know, like, when I'm kind of like into plastics. Like, what I want to do is, like, create a world, and, like, so when I got the idea to do the film, I was like, I can create that world, yeah, it's great, it'll be fine, but what are we gonna do, and so then trying to start to write it and turn it into something, like, it was pretty open-ended, and it was the starting point for was much kind of more experimental, and it was meant to have more, like, kind of being broken apart by, like, the blue blouse wasn't in part of the original idea, and instead of the blue blouse, and instead of being something that made it more clear, it was going to be something that was, less clear, and but then I started going to City College. I just was like, I got swept up, and I started thinking that, like, what I wanted people to do was have an emotional connection, and that was kind of like my goal was for people to have an emotional connection to a person, or and to have to identify with the character, and I started, and I thought that was the way to do it, and yeah, it came a long way, and but Alona started worked a lot on the screenplay. We did it together, and I started writing with Blake, and Alona hopped on and started sorting it all out. Yeah, no, we started with like taking like kind of what was the script and like turning it into something that would actually like kind of be a story.
Well, I mean, from my point of view, it's a real conflict because we were told over and over again, and we know that, that this story is going to be so difficult to communicate, and it's going to be, it's so complicated. And so I feel like, that was one of the guiding decisions that ended up winning. It's like we were our own Soviet faction. It's like the Trotskyites versus and the Socialist Revolutionaries, and the Bolsheviks went out.
but I really wanted to, be something that people would connect to.
Sorry.
No, go ahead.
And for me, such a touchstone of the process was our research of Eisenstein and 20th Soviet film, and our Eisenstein is such a contradictory and polarizing figure, and so much of his conflicts play out both with the montage editing and his intense drive to make you feel these grandiose emotions, and in the end, I'm really glad that there's this emotional element to our story, because I think it's a very human story, the story of Kronstadt, and there's different ways to approach it, but I don't know, that's my view.